All right, I want to congratulate Tim Pool on calling ahead of time that Trump was coloring the water. So now what we have is people who have been who have left the administration or been ejected from the administration, supposedly releasing information about confidential things having to do with the administration talking to another country. Now that the story's coming out, the administration was talking to Ukraine about the story that Lee Stranahan and Jack Posobiec are all over. The Department of Internal Corruption, or the Department of Government Corruption in the Ukrainian government, established by a junta supported by the Obama administration and our State Department. So it was elected government overthrown by via the Maidan by Obama's State Department, Kerry and Clinton. So they overthrow this, and then they started trying to steal energy contracts, basically. And Hunter Biden was one of the people who prospered off of this kind of deal. Now, keep in mind, one of the things for anybody who's like, oh, but it's cool because, Obama's got a black penis, and so does his wife. The whole thing is that this actually was a neo-fascist regime, openly so, such that even before they took over, as the Maidan was happening, people like me were bringing up that they were holding signs with the image of Stepan Bandera, the leader of what could be called a nationalist government of Ukraine, but its ideals basically he was a World War II, basically a fascist ally to the Third Reich. There were a lot of different governments like this. And it's either the Socialist Party one or this other party one. And so after the war, a lot of the Ukrainians basically just changed their names. They changed the spelling of their names, and there were so few people who, because at the time, I love how there's so many layers to this that are just so beautiful. So languages like Ukraine didn't necessarily have a written history at the time of World War II ending. So when all these Nazis get brought into the CIA, they just respelled their names in a German or Russian fashion, said they were running from the Soviets. And we took them in. And this is well known. Well, that's what the Ukrainian junta was about. That's what Obama was going along with. Now, coloring the water. Another thing has happened recently. Everybody's supposedly all upset about President Sisi. Well, once again, President Sisi basically took over after the military and popular anger at the Muslim Brotherhood government that ran Egypt after the quote-unquote Arab Spring. The Arab Spring as well, mysterious quote-unquote organic protest that started in the streets, and with of course Anderson Cooper there to fill you in on all of it. So the Muslim Brotherhood takes over Egypt. Well, Muslim Brotherhood, who is this? The Muslim Brotherhood, and we know this because these people are now complaining because al-Sisi has crushed their movement. What movement? What someone might ask. The Salafist movement. The Salafist movement is literally Reform Islam. It went back to the Quran, said this is how all people should live. That's why the Middle East is the way it is now. It wasn't like this in the 50s. The Salafists didn't have that much power. The CIA pushed the Salafi view. And we brought in Salafists. This all was to aid the anti-colonial movement of Jamal ad-Din al-Afghani. He was basically simply an anti-colonialist, and he was taken on by a lot of Western kind of avant-garde thinkers and mystical people things, because he was saying that he had this new interpretation of Islam. But it wasn't necessarily new. It was this absolutely horrible interpretation of literalism, and almost every school of Islam was fundamentally overrun by Salafist ideology. Now, not every school of Islam will agree with this. There's those that are far more orthodox. There's like this one guy I'll now and then check out on YouTube, Imam Hussein something or other. I want to say his name is Hussein Imran, Imhran, but I'm not certain. He's the one who put me onto the whole issue of Turkey, the Caliph, and how the British usurped the meeting that was that happened in Egypt to establish a new Caliph, and that the British instead got the high members of the Islamic world to go to Saudi Arabia, and that's where then Saudi Arabia was kind of given its, it established as the big deal in the Middle East from that point on. I think this was like 38. I want to say it was 1938, from what I remember of that one imam talking about it. But fundamentally, Tim Pool was absolutely correct about the coloring of the water. This is precisely what it was. The water got colored, the leak has spread, and so what it's looking like by the time this person got kicked out of the administration, this is about 2 weeks later. Everybody's protesting everywhere, and it's because these leaks were going to come out. The information about Ukraine, the information about Egypt, and the Obama administration were all going to come out, and now it is. And the beauty of it is the Trump administration is about to fuck them up the ass with this information. That's the beauty of it. They wanted to, there's nothing that they could say. I mean, if they were to look into this claim that Trump was talking to some foreign official about something, as soon as they would look into it, they would find out that what this is about is it's actually about the Ukrainian Anti-Government Corruption Office asking the FBI for help, and the FBI kept basically not picking up the phone. The FBI wouldn't call the Ukrainian government back because it was about Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden gaming the energy industry in Ukraine. And so this is beautiful. I mean, this is literally like one of the most well-played traps ever laid in all of politics. I mean, I really am trying to think through something that would have been almost as absolutely ingenious as this. Now, the beauty of this is happening as Guatemala and now El Salvador have agreed to the fundamental UN rules on humanitarian issues of refugees and people crossing their territory to go to another territory. This is amazing levels of winning that have happened here. And so I just want to also make sure people recognize that Tim Pool now is getting it. Tim Pool now has the sight. He saw that he thought that this was coloring the water, and he was absolutely correct. So I just want to tell Tim that the best possible thing he and Subverse can do at this stage about Egypt and Ukraine, if Tim, Subverse, if you guys want to be ahead on this story, you need to get Lee Stranahan on Subverse. You need to do an hour to an hour and a half on Ukraine and Egypt and just go through everything. One of the key names you're looking for, Stepan Bandera, and you're looking for then the people who brought all these Ukrainians into the United States. And that was Reinhard Gehlen. Once you know anything about Reinhard Galen, once you understand the background of this man, you understand his relationship to the CIA and the Bush family, tons of stuff starts making sense. Because his career was relatively well documented. It's just that this is sort of this piece of knowledge that outside of people who really are buffs on World War II, are really into spycraft and craft work and all the spooks and stuff that we've had on the payroll, you're just not interested in this. And once you learn like that this happened, and then you start to figure out, wait, this guy Reinhard Galen is like the center of a huge, huge bunch of these fucking things. And so beyond this, how did I find this out? Because of the thing that changed so much of what I thought. The interview by Alex Jones of John Loftus, who wrote America's Nazi Secret. And he also wrote an earlier version of that before he got the all the top secret clearances to clear. That was called the Belarus. I think it was called the Belarus Brigade. And so that's another one. He had to call it the Belarus Brigade because there's something he was not able to. It was too classified. The Ukrainians were still too classified. The Belarus bunch weren't classified enough. So this is beautiful. This is like really like we've exposed how the Obama administration overthrew Ukraine and used neo-Nazis that the CIA had been holding back for a generation. Egypt, a neo-fascist ideological organization that terrorizes the entire Middle East and has been declared by both al-Sisi and by Mohammed bin Salman as organizations they will have to stamp out of existence. We're the ones keeping the Muslim Brotherhood powerful. Everybody who has a problem with Trump, you're keeping the Muslim Brotherhood powerful. You are. You. Remember that. Remember when you see these women covered in fucking carpet and upholstery, that's your fault. You just keep that in mind. We've been trying to tell you. We tried. You're just too fucking stupid. You just are too damn dumb. But this is also one of the big things with this is going to open up an unbelievably large no. So one of the things about this is going to stain the whole thing. It's going to make the Arab Spring and all the color revolutions clearly the work of the CIA and other intelligence establishments. It's going to start bringing up questions about what is Israel's role in all of this. What did they know? How did they not know that we were using fascists to accomplish all these goals? And that basically the Islamic ideology that was taking over Syria was an offshoot of a kind of neo-fascist ideology. You know, the Salafi. And so once you look up Jamal ad-Din al-Afghani, the best place to look about information about him is Conspiracy School, because the writer of Conspiracy School is a Muslim. And he will explain to you exactly the whole thing about al-Afghani, the Salafist movement, and why it's so terrible. You look up Muslim Brotherhood and you look at Muslim Brotherhood violence. You know, the history of the Muslim Brotherhood, and you're going to find this is al-Banna. Al-Banna was a pen pal of Adolf Hitler. Al-Banna's nephew renames himself Arafat, and Arafat starts the PLO. So a lot of people aren't getting, this is like going back to almost our grandparents' time, back to Daddy Bush and his generation. So this is the ring that binds them all. Is this weird secret society, intelligence agency thing that is really about stealing all of the resources from the Russian steppes. That's key to this, is to make Russia a water bottle and to make Russia a mineral mine, so that white chicks could have almond milk year round for their lattes. Boom. Easy enough? Tim, you got the eye.